I had to make a video because my name is Max Prime. This total epic news dropped about a couple weeks ago. That's right, you guessed it, the return of Superboy Prime. How long have I waited for my favorite character to come back to DC Comics? I was probably one of the first to hit Twitter begging Geoff Johns to bring the guy back over and over again. I sent out tweets constantly like joking about free the boy Prime or hashtag free Prime or release the Prime, like the release the Snyder Cut trend. Anyway, Superboy Prime has returned. That's right, after a 9-year absence in DC Comics. Mind you, this is one of the most controversial characters in DC history, one of the best villains in the DC universe, and he has returned in the year 2020. If you like more of these videos, definitely hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications button if you want to see more content like this from our channel. Now, Superboy Prime's return. If those who don't know who Superboy Prime is, of course he's an alternate version of Superman from the Earth, the parallel Earth known as Earth Prime, where there was no heroes, no supervillains. It was basically our Earth, our reality, where a Superboy basically had no powers until a comet flew over, and which gave him Halley's Comet, which gave him his superhuman abilities, and that's when he meets Superman right before Crisis on multiple Earths, and eventually leading into Geoff Johns' 2005 classic Infinite Crisis, which seen the Superboy turn bad, which became like the staple transformation of a hero into a villain, and we got to see the greatest, if not one of the greatest villains ever created, Superboy Prime, take over the DC Universe by storm. I mean, this guy was showing up in all different multiple comic books, from Infinite Crisis to the Sinestro Cold War to, I believe it was Countdown to Final Crisis. The guy was in the Legion of Three Worlds book in Final Crisis. And eventually we seen him in the Blackest Night storyline before we seen another version of Superboy Prime disappear towards the end of the pre-52 into the new 52. Now, one of the things I always wanted to question Geoff Johns is that if he were to bring the character back, because there was all different type of speculation, like based off of the two separate endings. That's right. One ending, we had Superboy Prime where he was actually at the end of the Blackest Night, where basically he defeats all the Black Lanterns, and he's holding his girlfriend, and the girlfriend's wearing a Black Lantern ring, and we all wondered, okay, did Superboy Prime, who was then back on Earth Prime, was he done then? Was his story over? Also, the other ending where Teen Titans run was coming to an end right before the New 52 reboot, and that's where a version of Superboy Prime is plucked out of the timeline. He fights the Titans in his anti-monitor armor, and then he gets basically tied to the Source Wall. Now, speculation, of course, was going on when currently in the new universe that we have now, the DC Rebirth universe, where basically the Source Wall is destroyed. A lot of people were asking the question, well, if the Source Wall was destroyed, where's Superboy Prime? Mind you, from 2011, we haven't heard a single thing about Superboy Prime, only until where we had Doomsday Clock, where Dr. Manhattan is talking to Guy Gardner, and Guy Gardner basically shows him all the supervillains that the Green Lanterns and the rest of the superheroes in the universe defeated, and we see a Superboy Prime hologram, or basically construct, from Guy Gardner, and he's also talking about how they've they've actually defeated Crybabies, which refers to Superboy Prime. Now, other than that, like I said, 9 years has passed by, and like I said, and the fans have wanted him. As much as the fans hated him, the fans love him. He is the most powerful character in DC Comics history. Again, I'll leave a link in the description explaining just how powerful he is and how he came to be for those who don't know who Superboy Prime is. But in the essence of this podcast, we're only talking about his return. That's right, folks. Geoff Johns, who's the writer of Shazam currently, about a couple weeks ago, they actually tweeted out there, I guess the artist of the book, that he's back. And the cover shows Superboy Prime basically laid out the whole entire Shazam family. Then, as of I believe Wednesday, Shazam number 10 had the little spoiler in there where Dr. Savannah and the Worm, Mr. Mind, are actually in the, I believe it's the Monsters Lands in the Shazam, realm or whatever. And this like land actually holds all the most dangerous monsters. And for some reason, they go by a prison cell that has an S on the door. And of course, you guessed it, when they, Mr. Mind, basically Dr. Savannah asks like Mr. Mind, like, well, who is this prison for? Because it looks kind of small. And Mr. Mind's like, yeah, don't worry about that, that they don't want anything, they don't want anything that we want, or, they have nothing to do with magic. And of course, it's Superboy Prime. And the interesting thing that he says while he's in the cell, of course, is that, I know that I'm in here, you stupid worm, like, I can't believe they did this to me, like, and I can't wait to take revenge on Billy Batson. So it's very curious and interesting, like, okay, so if he was tied to the Source Wall, what happened from that point? Is it eventually going to be that, maybe the Shazam family captured Superboy Prime while he was tied to the Source Wall somehow? Because remember, Superboy Prime doesn't really have a weakness to magic and everything, because that was proven in Infinite Crisis, where Black Adam tries to fight Superboy Prime, and basically Prime defeats Black Adam like with not even like a flick of the wrist, basically. So it's interesting, like, was he a part of, like I said, which Superboy Prime was pulled? Was it the one tied to the Source Wall, or was it that storyline where he was on Earth Prime with the Blackest Night ending, and maybe somehow the Shazam family got him from there? So I'm really thinking they might make more sense, like maybe he's tied to the Source Wall, and somehow the Shazam family just happened to be at the Source Wall investigating, and they seen him, and then they captured him. Very, very interesting to see where Jeff Johns is going to go with this, but he even said, like, in his interview about it, that he's happy, he's excited, he loves Superboy Prime. We all knew he loved writing Superboy Prime's character, and he can't wait for other writers to pick him up, because he says, like, we're not going to lock him back up. 10 years was like way too long, and I totally agree, because I love the character. He is so awesome. People might call him a crybaby. Some people might call him, like, the most ultimate upset fanboy. But he is the most controversial, awesome character, because the man, obviously, or upside, the boy knows what reality is, and he knows that people are reading the comic book. He's a fourth wall breaker, and I love it. What are your thoughts on Superboy Prime's return? Leave your comments on the video. What do you think how the Shazam family is actually going to deal with Superboy Prime? And then also, where is he going to end up next after the Shazam run? Because we all know that there's going to be another crisis up and coming, I think, before the 5G happens, or what may cause, DC 5G. So leave your comments and let us know. I'm Max Prime, and I'm out.